All right. I'm going to do a little bit of live coding here on Thunder Lizard. And I'm trying out a new streaming setup with OBS, going to YouTube, and I'm still getting used to it. So hopefully it works out well this time. And hopefully my microphone is good. I've got a little bit of background noise and I'm often a little quiet, so I've tried to turn it up. So we'll see how well this goes. Without further ado, this is Thunder Lizard, and we got a bunch of little dinos chasing after me because that's the swarming behavior. And the last thing I did is you can see how quickly I move on land. As soon as I pass into water, check that out, really start chugging. And then when I'm back on land, I'm nice and fast again. So we got a little terrain effect of being slow in water. And the thing that I want to do now is another terrain effect, which is when I go through this grassland area, which is this like green here that I'm on, and I want to leave a little trail behind me as if I was trampling the grass. And maybe it also leaves a trail up here, but maybe there's like bigger trees, so the trail's less pronounced. And then over here in the jungle, maybe it doesn't do that at all. And maybe in the water we get some ripples or something. Look at this low frame rate. I don't know why it's going so slow right now. Maybe because I got more going on with my CPU or something, but that's, I guess, a problem for another time. So let's figure out how to add, here we go, that's better frame rate. Let's figure out how to add these trails. Got a worse frame rate. Over here is my code, and I have terrain, and I have dinosaurs, and I'm using an ECS approach, so I have some components and some systems, and I want to add a component that will track the trails that I leave, and I want to add that to my terrain. But the issue is that my terrain is this map, which is a world map, which is holding all the terrain. And my terrain currently looks like this, which is a special class and a bunch of classes that extend it, because I started making this without ECS, and so terrain doesn't have any ECS at the moment. And if I want to track these terrain effects with ECS, I'm going to have to add ECS to this. And I think I'll be able to do a hybrid approach where I have these classes, but I also have some of the components alongside of them. So the thing I'm thinking of doing, first of all, is making a separate ECS world. Dinos right here is my ECS world for all the dinosaurs, but the types of components that go on terrain are not going to overlap with the dinosaurs, and so I think having separate worlds will make be a good idea. Let's see. I think the fact that this is a partial, let's see, no, that's what it takes. This right here is the ECS. Nope, that's not it. That's my quad tree. My ECS world is here. This is the one. Great world. This is the ECS world, and the ECS world has the player in it. And let's see, add entity. I only add entity. Let me do it like this. The places that we add the entity are in make dino right here and right here in the player. So the player and making dinosaurs is all that we put into the world. So I'm going to do something similar to that. I'm going to make a whole new world for the terrain. And I guess I'll just put that here and call this, actually let's rename this to the Dino ECS world. Now we can make one called terrain ECS world. And now in generate map, this is where we do a bunch of Perl and noise stuff, and then here's where we end up making our terrain class. And oh yeah, the terrain class is conditionally created from one of our terrains right here with a default of ocean if it's outside of what does the Perl noise island generator. Real quick. There you go. There's our nice island. And so this is the class to make a specific type of terrain. This is the constructor that actually makes it. And I want to add each one of these into my world. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to where my dinosaur class is, which my dinosaurs are also kind of a hybrid of ECS and the ECS system. And I got this ID right here, and ID, oh, ID is passed in. Okay, and let me see when I do the generate mobs, ID is add entity. Okay, so we'll go, let's see, where was I doing this? Generate map. We were right down here. So maybe right here we do this, and this is going to be in the terrain world. So give us an ID and terrain class, which doesn't currently care about IDs. Let's make it care about IDs. Right, what is this? Right now it just extends entity. Does entity have an ID? No, entity doesn't have an ID, but dinosaurs do. And dinosaurs have a constructor, but this one doesn't. Let me look at those dinosaur constructors again really quick. So this extends entity. This one, I guess, is just, oh, I see. There's like spacing here is a little weird because there's almost nothing, but ID is going to be a number. And we're going to pass it in somehow. How did we do this in the dinosaur one? Sorry. Dinosaur. Oh, it takes, how do I not have a constructor for that, but I do for this? And how does it, oh, because it has a default of true, I get it. We'll just set that as a default of 0, and that way I don't have to worry about well, I wonder if it'll let me set it without well, here's what we'll do. Go back to our level. This still only takes the things that an entity takes, but I can do this. I can do e.id, which now it was 0. Now it's whatever this creates. That'll work. We can do that. And now that we have one of these, it's been effectively added. We can now use that to add some components. And I guess I should go make some components for this, but as of now, we now have a ECS world for terrain that's been loaded up with all the terrain types. So now I'm going to go to my components here and make some for the terrain. So let's do, here's what I'm thinking. I want to have a deplaceable, and anything that can be deplaced, like the grass or the water, will have this, probably with some, like the degree of displacement that it can have, which will change by terrain type. And I will also have a deplaced component, which means it actually is deplaced, and it'll store the degree of displacement at that moment in time. And I could put that in the same component, but the reason that I want to separate them is because every single item of terrain is going to be deplaceable, and there's a lot of them on the map, and we have to loop through them for the system, whereas a small fraction of them will actually be displaced at any given time. And so I'd rather loop through less. And so that's why I'm going to conditionally be adding the displaced one instead of just mixing it into the first one. And if you didn't catch that, you'll see the query in a moment that will do that. So deplaceable, which is a weird kind of name, but it thinking that like grass gets trampled, trees get knocked over, water gets waves, and so displaced by dinosaurs walking through it is what I'm thinking of. It doesn't, let's see, as far as data, right now, we'll just treat it as either it's displaced or it's not, but we'll probably add some degrees of displacement to this later. And I have some debugging. So if I click on this dinosaur right here, it shows me all the information that's on the class of the dinosaur, but then it also shows here all of the components that it has. And the way that components work, it's hard to log them out. They don't have like a class name per component per se. And so it's a little bit hard to tell what pressed means. And I happen to know that it's a controlled component that has that key on it, or like here, turn since last move, I happen to know is a movement one, but it's a little hard to tell. And so I had this thought for this pattern. Let's go back to here and click on any of these. If this worked, actually I'm probably, for terrain, I'm not actually showing the displacement. So let me go look at my debugging, look at, let's see, when you click, I get, if it's a dino, do that. Else if it's terrain, do the terrain. So I think I'm gonna do this exact same thing. And instead of the dino world, it'll be the terrain world now that we have one. And this will be terrain ID. Terrain ID. I can never spell terrain without adding a E at the end. And why is this? Put that there. I think that's probably gonna work. Let's go try. That didn't work very well at all. I haven't added this to anything, so that's why I haven't had any components to it yet. You are supposed to say terrain. That's the problem. Okay, there's our terrain and no components to it. So now if we go back to the level and we go to, as soon as we add terrain, let's just add this terrain to everything. And we'll see what it looks like, and we'll add it conditionally. Well, let's add deplaceable to grass types. Let's just do it like that. Betcha if this is my boom, there we go. If this is grass, add component deplaceable, and we want to fix this by importing that, and there's our deplaceable right there. Now let's go back to here. If I click on the light green ones, there it is, deplaceable. And if I click on one of these other ones, they're all empty. So that proves that we've got a system here, but it might be, let's see, deplaceable. Well, so I guess it's helpful that this is called deplaceable, and the, like minimal default value that you can have is probably unsigned 8-bit integer in this system. So having it set to 0 is kind of like just a way of showing that deplaceable is the name of this. I don't actually need that for doing this, but if I get rid of that, click on this, this is the best that I can get, and who knows what that is. So that's why, even though I'm using deplaceable as like a tag right now and not any component data, this is a way to know what it is when debugging, and probably not useful for much else. Okay, so now I have one that's deplaceable. The next thing I want to do is add deplaced. So export const deplaced, and this will complete for us. And we haven't placed one of these yet, but we do have these in the right spot. So what I want to do is when a dinosaur moves over one of these, oh, that's weird. Why? I used to be white. I don't know why I'm not white anymore. Huh. That's strange. Well, we'll worry about that later. When I move over one of these grass ones, I want to add deplaced to it. And so the place that I do that is in my dinosaur class move to, which gets called from, all the calls to it are from my movement system. It probably should live in my movement system, but like I said, I'm halfway between a class and a ECS, and so I don't have that at the moment. This is saying that there might be an error, but it looks okay. Oh, well, we'll find out if this works or doesn't work. If this doesn't work, then I don't know what will happen, but whatever. Maybe the stream's going to have a problem, but that's fine. We'll move ahead and then we'll try something else another time if it doesn't work. So when the dinosaur moves off of a terrain, that's when I want to do it. And I'd rather not put all that logic in here, but I don't know where else I would do it. This basically is part of the movement system, and this is the function the movement system calls out to. So I think this is it. So I have this thing about changing the speed in the water. And we're going to also add something about, so if, or actually what I want is, I already have the from terrain and the to terrain. So when the dinosaur moves, it's moving off of the from terrain. So that's not at all what I meant to do. The from terrain, if it has the component on it of displaceable, we will add a displaced component on it. So that actually works like this. If has component, and this needs a world, and I have a very roundabout way of getting that world, which isn't great, but it works. Get level, terrain world. There we go. Displaced. Or no, displaceable. And the ID of this. There we go. So what is this? From terrain might be null. This shouldn't ever happen, but it is right now, so it's fine, I guess. X, Y. So if you have this, we want to add component of this. There we go. And we want to add the placed, and we want to add from terrain dot ID. That's about all we need. Now it's not going to do much, but we can test it out with our debug system. So I'll just walk this way and walk this way. And if I click here, it says deplaceable. And if I click here where I walked, it says deplaced. So there you go. That appears to be working. Last thing to do, let's actually render it. Draw. So when we draw, let me see how this works. We're going to draw drawing just looks at every part of the grid, which might be a dinosaur or might be a terrain. And whatever it is, it's going to get the visual, which has the color that it needs to draw on. And here I do some logic about how to draw which character to use, or what is this? Oh, that's sort of complex. Don't worry about that. The point is I could do some logic right here to tell if I should change what it looks like when it's been deplaced. Or maybe I go into the terrain. Actually not entity, but terrain. And does this have, oh, this has, none of these have a get visual. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I suppose I could add that to this entity here now. So get visual is one of the ones that's in entity has a get visual. So I'm overriding it. Where is visual? Wait, I already have visual. Why is this? Oh, I just have to implement it. If I just call super, I thought that that would work. Does that not work? I don't even call the, oh, I do call the super here. That doesn't take anything. Return super.getVisual. So that would do nothing. But if we do something like foreground, background, it's what it would return. Background, this should be that. What does visual have on it? I thought that's what it had. Oh, CH in the foreground. Okay, sorry about that. This does nothing, and now we can say if has component this dot level terrain world displaced this dot ID, then foreground equals, and I think I have darken foreground. All right, let's try that. Can't access terrain world of get level. Is that where it's having the problem? Yeah, it is where it's having the problem. Why is that a problem? I'm not sure why it's having a problem with that. This.get level is undefined. Oh, I wonder if it's a timing thing. When I call draw, do I call draw before get level is set? I don't think so, because you can't make one of these without passing in a level. So, I'm not sure why that's an issue. We'll have to, I'm gonna have to debug this a little bit. But I wanted to say that I'm not doing a query for these components yet because I don't have a system, because I don't need to move anything yet or change anything yet. The movement system uses or impacts these, but it's not looking at entities that could be displaced. It's looking at entities that can move, and then based on kind of the collision of a moving entity, it does the lookup to tell if it has that component or not, and will change it. Later, I'm going to add a system that will heal the displaced terrain, and that's going to do a query that looks for these. But for setting them and for rendering them, we're just going to do this check here instead of a query for it. So I wanted to point out the difference there. And why is this an issue? Let's see what we get, if it works a little bit at first or if it breaks immediately. So this is the one in, well, let's see. This is the very first one, and it doesn't have a, what is this prototype? it is lava, which seems weird that the very first one would be lava. And terrain has an entity. What am I looking for here? Oh, I'm looking for the level. And this says get level. Let me see. I'm really confused what this, how this would not have a get level, but also confused why the first one would be 0. So if not has component, that's not it. This dot get level. We'll just return. Whoa, that's really weird. Oh, that's why. This is for my start screen. My start screen doesn't have a level put in it. Yeah, that would be a problem. And then what the heck is this? I'm guessing that this is... That's very weird. Shoot. I'm gonna have to rethink this. You know what we'll do? For the time being, let's not do it here. I just want to see if it's going to work or not over here. So if entity is instance, actually I don't need to do that. If has component, is this what I, has component, okay, actually this might be too mutative, so we might not want to do that ultimately. And this error is because entities don't have IDs, but dinos and terrain do now, and they both come from an entity, so that's fine. Now it'll only do this when it's in the render loop that can support it. So oh, there you go. It's a little bit broken, but there you go. In the type of terrain that has deplaceable, it is being displaced. So it's not rendering, right? But that's the basic idea. I guess it's not terrible to do this here. I'd rather do it in the other spot, but it's fine. Let's not worry too much about that. Why? Okay. This I don't care about, although I don't know how to tell it that. Okay, now it's happy. Why is this getting all weird though? Let me do just real briefly. Let's try this. There we go. Now that's changing just the part that I want. So no, I don't want this. I want darken or darken. Now when we go through, so I do this thing where I draw the background of a terrain as the same color as what it's, well, I draw the background as a darkened version of it. You can see that right here. So it's the same now. Let's just see. This is kind of a silly way to do it, but I do it like that, and there we go. Whoa. That doesn't actually look so good, but it's kind of working. Let me just to play around with how things look. What if we do it like this? It's pretty darn dark. Not sure if I really like that. I think I'll probably just leave it the way it was. That works. I think that works. And next question is, does that actually seem helpful for gameplay? There's so little of the light grain on here that I'm going to also add this to where the dark green was. All right, so if terrain class, let's do a little more like this. For grass, and actually, you know what? I'm gonna do these separate because I'm gonna give them different properties soon. So what was the other one? Was it shrubs, I think? Now, yeah, there we go. Now you leave some marks through all these different types, except not jungle, and not water, not dirt. But that's kind of cool because you sort of see where the dinos have been, which I guess is kind of fun and makes the world a little more reactive. But then the last piece of this is to have the paths close back in on you. And so now it's time to do that. And the way that we do that is we go to the displaced one, and we're going to actually use this value now. So this will be a displaced amount. So let's go to where this is used. This is used. I thought this was used in, yeah, here. The place that we do it is we add that component to, we add this, so okay, this is where we've stepped off of some terrain. We add the component, and we're going to do the displaced the displaced value of the displaced component for the from terrain is going to equal some amount. And why don't we call that 1? And now, just to show that, when I go over here, or here we go. When I click on this one down here, you can see that's been displaced as 1. That's been displaced as 1. And now we can use that. So I'm going to go up to my systems and add a new system and call it displacement. And I'm going to open that and just to see, to remember how I do this. That one, define query is there. Okay, here is the query that I was alluding to earlier. So I'm going to define a new query. This is my query. This is going to be anything that has displaced and displaceable on there. And I'm using displaceable because I'm going to use values from it soon. I'm using displaced because that's the ones that currently are displaced. And so this is where I was saying there's a lot less of these than there are of these. And so that's going to make this query be a little more effective or efficient. And then this is going to loop through all of them. And what do we do with this? If we have one of these, what I think we're going to do is we're going to say displaced dot displaced of the ID that we're looking at. We're going to, so this is going to, actually this movement system isn't being called at all right now, but we'll do that soon. So let's do minus equals 0.1. So that'll be 10 loops of this will decrease that. And then if we run out of, get down to 0, then we remove it. And then that'll remove it from this query here, and it won't need to do that anymore. And then it won't render anymore. And so this is a way of delaying by 10 when we remove this. And when does this movement or this system, which is actually called a displacement system, when does the displacement system get run? Well, we have a loop and we're going to run it in our main loop. And we're going to pass through the terrain world. Now this is going every 100 milliseconds, and there's 10 of them, so that means our trails should last for about 1 second. You ready to see if this works? I cannot tell if it's working at all. I don't think it. Let me jump back to this one and just make this be like way smaller. That's strange. We're not getting any displacements. As long as I don't remove it, they're still there. And let's see. They're already at 0. I wonder if this is just going down so quickly. Oh, of course, I know why. Because this is an unsigned int, not a float. So instead of going from 1 to 0, let's let's make sure that this gets started at not there. Where do we do this? Oh, right, in the movement system. Nope. In the dino, when we call deplaced, we'll start it at 100. And then in the displacement system, we will subtract just 1 because it is a float, or is not a float. Now, that path should be coming back on us, is it not? You can see as I'm clicking, it's getting less and less and less and less, which is great. And then it goes away. Oh, I just wasn't watching. It is. There it goes. Just takes 100 ticks for it to go away. Wow, so that's really trailing behind by a long ways. But there it goes. That's funny. It's pretty good. I just got eaten. So let's actually bring it down by 10 at a time. That's better. Kind of hills. Got this short trail behind us, which I think is nice. All right, and now here's the last bit, and then we're done. So go to where the level was. Go to where we add this. Not here. Which, by the way, since deplace now has a value, we could darken it by that value instead of by a fixed amount. So maybe I'll play with that later. But where was that? Here we go. So the reason that I did these separate, and actually I'm realizing now that I didn't need to do that. No, I do. Let me... If it's grass, I want to set the place. Let's see, not that. Nope. Deplaceable dot something like this. Hold on one sec. Let me come over here, and that amount that it goes away by is what I want to set right now. And I'm going to call this the like heal rate, and this will also be one of these. And then this is going to be the heal rate, and so will this. So grass is going to heal really fast. No, it's going to heal kind of slow. Let's say it takes it like, let's just say 20. Whereas shrubs, maybe they don't get knocked down as much. They will heal quicker. And now we go to that displacement system. And instead of choosing 10, we choose deplaceable dot heal rate of EID. And now we've used these two systems against each other. Where am I? So I am in the middle here, and you can see, let's see, let me try to get to a place where this is easier to tell. Going through the grass has a, I think I did it backwards. Grass has a much shorter one, and the shrubs have a much longer one. Or maybe the shrubs aren't healing at all. So this one had a heal rate of 20. This one has a heal rate of 8. Let me put this back into run mode. Oh, look at what's happening here. Do you see that? That's a problem. So what's happening here is when you subtract, if you because these, man, this is the third time I've had this problem. Because these are, what is this? This is an int 8. And so it will rotate around if you go on under 0, it'll rotate back around to 256. So I could go back to making these signed, or I can do, let's see, how do I make sure that I'm subtracting 8 every time to this? I think I need to do, oh, how do I do that? This minus this, and mass dot min. I think that's what I want to do. So if this is, let's say 20, and let's say this is 10, and we take away 8. Nope, we still want that to be at 2. So how do I do that? Without adding another if statement in here. No, I think I have to do it this way. I think this is actually what the autocomplete was doing at the beginning. So minus equals where'd my nice autocomplete go? That's not quite right. Deplaced. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to subtract either whatever deplaced is or whatever deplaced minus this is. So again, if this is 10, then we subtract 8 from it, and this will be 2, and this will be 10, so it will take away 2. And then if this is 2, this will loop around to like 246 or something, and this will take the smaller one, which will be 2, and it'll subtract 2 from 2, which will be 0. Or I could just make that signed in, this would be a lot easier, but let's just stick with this for now. Is that working? No, I must have done something even more wrong, because now it's just 20 the whole time. Or 8. Deplaced, we want to subtract from it either the amount that is left, or, you know what I'm going to do? Sorry, getting tired. There we go. We'll just do that. Now we don't have to worry about it. Or we do have to worry about it. Shouldn't that, you see how it's wrapping around again? It shouldn't be doing that. Why are you wrapping around? I made you, oh, I made the wrong one. You are one of those. You're one of these. This time I think we got it. There it goes. Let me get across to somewhere. Now I got a little trail behind me that lasts about that far. Where's the trail here? Which one's longer? I go backwards. This is a really short trail. This one is a very long trail. I think I wanted to do it the other way around. Short trail here, long trail here. Which means this was in the level. If we're in shrub, the heal rate seems like it should be a lot less to me. Is this, what is this? Is this shrub or is this something else? You are shrub. And your heal rate is at 8. Whereas your heal rate is at 20. Why is grass lasting so much longer than shrub? Did I do this backwards? There's a nice long trail in the grass and a nice short trail over here in the shrubs. Okay, that's kind of what I was going for. And let's watch the other dinos run around. Is this interesting? Is the question is this actually helpful or is this more confusing? Thought is that it might be easier to track the other dinosaurs as they're running around if we do this. But honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it is. It might help if I don't darken it as much, if it's a little more subtle. And one of the next steps is when I go through water, I want to do something similar, but have it ripple outwards instead, which I think would look really cool. Well, in any case, there you go. We've added terrain displacement via ECS. That's all that I wanted to share.